Good morning, Mike. How you doing? Happy Monday.
Monday, Monday. Ah, na,
So, uh,
na. I
so as
got a
we kick
case of the
off,
Mondays.
you got a kiss. I know you got a kiss of the Mondays. You
Yeah.
basically turn up 1 minute before we go live, and I'm like sitting here panicking. And I know you got a kiss of the Mondays. The audience may not know that because you look so cool, so calm, collected. But
Yes.
actually, I'm the one here who's got palpitations. I'm going, is he going to show up today? Is he okay? But hey,
Could
there
this
you
be the
are.
day? Could this be the day I leave you?
I don't. I know you wouldn't leave me without at least send me a text message to say,
Not
sorry, mate, I can't
purposely.
be there. Or I thought this was your delay in me getting back to post my post last night on LinkedIn. So, you know,
Oh yeah, the
but
I tried to avoid LinkedIn over the weekend. I got a lot of catching up to do, but I
yeah,
did
same
see your
here.
post with the apology, the quote unquote apology from last week, which was
Yes,
funny.
yes.
Made me laugh.
I just had to do it just because, well, you never know. You never know. It may attract people to watch it. Maybe these guys are up to all sorts every day. So,
Yeah. We're just
yeah. So
people.
how was
Just
we're just that's all we are, man. Yeah. So how was the weekend? Did you get a
it
chance to
was
relax? You said you were on LinkedIn.
I did. I avoided LinkedIn, avoided work. I did have a good relaxing weekend, but it went by too fast. It's back to the old, weekends just too short. And today I did
Yeah.
wake up feeling a little bit grumpy, little Monday. The case of the Mondays, as they said. And remember that movie in 1999, Office Space, with
Yes.
yeah, we're gonna need you to work on Saturday. That'd be great. That guy.
Sure
Um,
do.
I felt a little like the hey, get a case of the Mondays, but no, I'm good. I read your article you shared with me. You've been up early and reading in
Yes.
and starting
Yes.
this new week here, April 27th, the last week of April 2020. And where are we today? What's going on? What's the conversation going to be this week?
I think the conversation is going to be, and I think it's going to be pretty much the same as what it was last week, but you never know with this shift. So it almost as we look back there, each week has its own unique topic for the whole industry. Last week was return to work, and yeah, the article I shared with you was a Bloomberg article, um, where they summarized a lot of the thoughts of banks CEOs, and I found it interesting
Yeah.
just to hear their perspectives and their viewpoints. I think each were sort of stating that there's no immediate rush to get back to work, but they understood the importance of getting back to work. And obviously, as a bank and infrastructure, they're so important to the economy and sort of almost like not a signal, but a signal to the local economy that things are starting to correct themselves. And there's key words as I sort of read the article. One word that sort of transpired to me was local view. So each of them sort of stated it would be a local view, looking at every
Hmm.
location, every city, almost community basic is sort of what I took that intent to mean. And as they then would go through, they talked about some of the protocols, getting people into the building, commuting, and the one takeaway that I sort of thought through, and I was like, that's really interesting, is their expectations on how many people would return to work and when.
Yeah. Yeah. What they saw
Um,
in Asia with the
yeah,
reopening of the offices there was interesting to me.
yeah,
That
and there was different opinions, right? There was probably the most optimistic opinion I saw was 50% would return to work, and that 50% that return to the office would be on a rotational basis.
hmm,
And the most conservative that was reported was 20% on a rotational basis. And it sort of got me thinking a little bit, and it's sort of, are we thinking or focusing on the wrong thing as we plan the return to work? And let me sort of put that in context.
yeah.
So if we take the numbers that the bank CEOs are looking at, so 50% will return to work on a rotational basis. So that means at any given week, 25% will be in the office. And if you take the most conservative, 20% on a rotational basis, so that's 10% will be in the office. That means these banks that employ thousands and thousands and thousands of people all over the world, somewhere between 75 and 90% of their population, their employees, will be working from home.
Yep.
And if we think about the durations that they were talking about, some of them were talking about this is going to go on till at least December before
December.
they
Yeah.
think there's going to be more stability where people can return to the office. And that's why I asked the question, are we focusing on the wrong thing? Not that what we're doing in sort of trying to get people ready to come back to work and ensuring the office is ready for those people to come back from work. But actually, 75% or 90% of the population will be working from home. Are we putting the right tools in employees' hands to be collaborative, innovative, productive? And also, are we providing the right infrastructure around an employee to be able to sustain that work from home? Because we've talked about it before, you and I have dedicated space. There are those people that don't have that, who may
Right.
struggle that little bit more. So, and that's sort of where I was pondering this morning, and that's why I shared the article with yourself. Because one, it's it's what we've been talking about, but again, that's it's an interesting thought. I don't know what sort of you feel about that, or if you've given it thought, or maybe there was a different takeaway that you had that you wanted to highlight.
No, well, I think it's a good thought, and I'm curious to know what you think we can do about it for these folks at home who. And I know you've had some conversations on LinkedIn and elsewhere discussing this idea, or throwing the idea out there anyway, of how can we create this collaboration and those spontaneous meetings and
Hmm.
innovation and creativity, all those things. But for me, as you're describing this article, and I read it myself, and my experiences over this past weekend just continued to reinforce to me, Steve, this idea that there's really two separate conversations. It's our personal lives and our work lives. And then even in that work area, when we talk about workplace, you and I are talking about this world of the office and commercial real estate buildings. And there's this whole other conversation going on about manufacturing facilities and retail and restaurants and other uh, you know my hairdresser reached out to me over the weekend, said, hey, looks like the
Did
governor of
did she see
Maryland's
the
going to
video?
reopen.
Was she
she
watching a video or something?
she
Got
didn't say anything
concerned
about
about
the
yeah.
video, but
Okay,
she's probably
okay,
concerned about this mop getting a little out of control, which is rightfully so. But looks like mid-May they're going to reopen, hopefully, at least allow certain salons and places to open. Other places of the country, it's already happened, I think, as of Friday. And it'll
yeah.
be interesting to see how that plays out. I saw some news reports about that. But there's that whole other, that's that personal side, things like that, going to the getting a haircut or going back into a restaurant, should we decide to venture that way. And there's a whole conversation we could have there. But you're right. This show is about workplace and open source workplace and workplace innovator. So we should spend most of our time on the return to the office and what that's going to look like. But to me, again, I keep thinking about the emotions of these things, and I have had some experiences returning to public, because I went to the grocery store with my wife on Saturday for the first time. She's usually the one that ventures out, goes to the grocery store, and gives me the reports and says, a few weeks ago she said they put up the plexiglass for the grocery, checkout clerks, and she was wearing her mask and so forth. Well, this is my first time going to the grocery store with her. We kind of, divided and conquered the list. So I went to one side of the store and she went to the other, and I got really irritated with people. Not most of the customers had masks on and were keeping social distance, but many, and I won't name the name the grocery chain, but I think most of their employees were not wearing masks, and most of their employees. And I appreciate, because we always say, hey, the grocery workers are these frontline workers who are exposing themselves. Well, that's another reason why aren't they wearing masks to protect us from their exposure? Because there's this thing going on. And I bring all this up to say it applies to whatever the new situation is. Going back to the office, it's only going to be as comfortable and as emotional or not emotional, or it's only going to allow us to be productive if we can get these things out of our head. Because it ruined me for the rest of the day. I got really irritated with the situation. And again, I find myself to be this person who's like, let's be calm, let's get back to some kind of rational. And you've heard me say on the show, let's get back to the society so we can help support the economy and put this virus into perspective. And the risks are relatively low if we just play, safe, do safe things, follow the protocols, we'll be okay. But I'm a human being, and I got into that situation, started getting irritated with, one of the employees came up to me. He's like, you find everything you need? He was like, he really was over gregarious. Like he knew he was doing this thing where he's helping
Mm,
people, but he had no mask on, and he's getting up close to all the customers and trying to be helpful. But it upset me. I don't know what
mm.
I'm kind of now I'm rambling because I'm on this
No,
Monday
I
morning
think
thing, but
it's no, it's great context because that question, that thinking, that mentality, the emotion that you went through in a grocery store, will be we have to expect the emotion that an employee will feel in the office.
Yeah.
So if I'm sitting in an office or you're sitting in an office or our colleagues are sitting in the office, and there will be those that want to wear a face mask and will expect other colleagues to wear a face mask. There will be colleagues that decide, no, I don't want to wear a face mask, and therefore I won't wear a face mask. So what is the right protocol? And again, going back to that article that we referenced at the beginning, that was a concern and a thought. No decision has been made, but emotionally, we have to anticipate that that will be an emotion that people go through when they come to the office. I think it's important that organizations sort of communicate what those protocols are and get a sentiment of the office, because
Yeah.
and it's going to be different in every office. There are going to be different emotions. I have to suspect that, a New York City office may be different to an office in another state because of the level of exposure, the environment, the culture, what's happening at a local level. But I think it's a great context to take that and actually apply it. I went through something similar over the weekend, a different environment.
Okay.
So I took Saturday was beautiful in New York City and at Long Island where I'm living, and so
Nice.
I got my bike out. I love going road cycling, and this is the first time I sort of release some of the cobwebs of the bike.
All
And I don't
right.
like to go far for the first ride because you never know how these bikes are going to respond on the first
Sure.
go over the ride. So I went out on the road, and the roads were brilliant. There was hardly a car out there. And part of my trip was to run through Bethpage State Park, and it was packed.
Oh
It
yeah.
was hardly impossible to move. And you had a variety of people. One, those who were being very socially responsible, wearing masks, stepping aside, and being thoughtful. Then there were others that, similar to your grocery store, who were behaving, brashly, cycling quickly in and out of people, not wearing any face coverings.
Mhm.
And I went through the same emotion. I'm very conscious of other people. I take my time, and I'm very deliberate. And it's just, I went through exactly the same thing to you. I taken that into the office place. It's it's gonna feel the
You,
same.
you said a word that is so key to this whole situation: communicate, communication. I think there's still a huge disconnect among the general population because of mistrust, distrust, misinformation. Who knows what to believe? And again, politics aside and media biases aside, we've addressed that on the show. But if you just live your life based on headlines and trying to make sense of things, you're getting an incomplete, if not incorrect, picture of what's going on with this pandemic. And then go to the
Mm,
workplace, and depending on how effective our leadership and our management teams have been, and how receptive we've been as individuals. I mean, it's so different the way we process information. So are you getting the right message? Is the message being communicated correctly? The mask thing is a simple example. I didn't know before this pandemic why, when I would travel through airports and I'd see folks mostly from Asian populations visiting at Dulles International Airport wearing masks, because the culture over there was to wear masks. Well, I didn't realize, and I still am not 100% sure back pre COVID-19 why they were wearing masks, other than it was part of the culture. And it was like, are they sick? Are they trying to prevent themselves from getting sick? Are they trying to prevent us from getting their germs? Is it a respectful thing? Well, we now know, because if you've been watching, the Dr. Fauci's and Dr. Burke's commentaries and others, it's about wearing masks not to protect yourself, because those masks, unless it's an N95 mask, is not really designed to keep you from getting sick. It's to keep the other person in the room, or the other person in the space, from getting your potential projectile from just speaking and so forth. So you may be asymptomatic, you may have it, and you've talked about this very clearly. Your social responsibility and mine is to be thoughtful of others around us, keeping the distance and thinking of others, keeping the mask on to protect others from potentially getting exposed. So again, what you're in a setting, a public setting, in that park or in the grocery store for me, and some people have them on, some people don't. Now I got to take it to another level and say, okay, let me give the benefit of the doubt to those people without the mask on, or those people not keeping distance. do they really mean to be irresponsible and selfish in the sense that they don't, do they not know that they're exposing me potentially or exposing others? So I think there's a real disconnect or a real difficulty that's going to carry over into our return and reentry to the workplace, is that people have to know what the rules are, what the protocols are, and why those are in place. Why are we doing this? It's like change management 101. Why
Hmm.
are we changing our workplace strategy? Why are we moving the desk configuration? Why are we going to going to agile, or why are we, changing this or that? Why are we moving our headquarters and doing the things we've done for years? We've always had that human reaction of anger and fear and disappointment, or resistance to change, because people don't have the full picture. So maybe we need to step back and say, what, here are the protocols, and here's the full picture. Make sure you understand. Boy, we certainly need to do it in the general population, because it's just, I think
Yeah.
it's missing the boat. I mean, and then it comes down to folks like you and I taking a deep breath and saying, how am I going to look at that other person, and am I going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and give them some grace and patience and forgiveness? Or am I going to be like irritated like I was on Saturday, and as you were with your bike ride?
Well,
I mean,
let's be clear. It didn't ruin the rest of my day. And I didn't give it much thought actually after as soon as
okay,
I got
good.
home. But it was more of just as I went through. It was more of it was a recognition and notice of the behaviors, you know.
Yeah.
But one of the great things about weekends, they give you an opportunity to really think and sort of have questions and sort of ponder a number of things. And I typically do that sort of thing on a weekend.
Yeah.
And I sort of look at sort of the team that I work on and I work with, and a number of things that sort of popped into my head that I have a concern about is internships
Mm,
and graduates. you
mm,
know, um, Internship programs are designed to allow college kids to be exposed to the workplace, get some experience, and learn new things, and then be integrated into a team environment where they also have the opportunity to bring completely different skills to a team, right?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
as we onboard those interns, because and I don't know whether many organizations have continued with the intern programs. I suspect many have and many will, but actually, what is their experience going to be given
Mm,
COVID-19? Where will they be operating from? How will they be integrated in? We talked about the challenges last week of onboarding new employees, but
right.
actually, what about interns? How are they going to be onboarded? The intern programs are usually they get to know their immediate team who they're working with, and also they get to know the group of interns. And through moving around the office and people hearing and seeing what they're doing, then you're able to get to know other people and get exposed maybe to other projects and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
I've been thinking through some of those things. And I also have a couple of interns who are graduating this year on the team. These are two computer science, brilliant, brilliant folks
Cool.
who are now actively looking for employment. And it's the challenge that they have in this environment. How do they go about doing those things? And how do they, have the opportunities been taken away because of this? And they likely will have, and I sort of feel for them. And it's just these are two things that has just been going through my head over the thing. When I say two things, there's been multiple things, but those are the two
Yeah.
things we're talking about
But
right now.
they're not looking because they don't feel they can find something in this
No, no, they're
climate,
actively
or
looking. They're
oh, they are
actively looking,
actively
of
looking.
course. Of
Okay.
course, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it brings it back to that opening commentary that maybe we are focused on the wrong things, because I worry about, as we mentioned last week, the employees that were onboarded, like my co-host on the Workplace Innovator interactive live stream, Madison. She came on board at iOffice a week or 10 days before we all went home, and she really had very little interaction, exposure, time to get acclimated to the job in the headquarters location. So therefore, all of her interactions have been through Zoom with all of us. And there are some of those, we agreed that there are some differences that we can't replace some of the connectivity, the organic, just the camaraderie that happens when we're physically with people. And it looks like we're going to be in this situation for quite a while. So whether it's an intern coming on board, or an employee coming on board, or just maintaining our existing relationships, there's some good things that have happened with, we've talked about Zoom allowing us to get to know some people and see their faces more often than not than we used to in some ways, remote workers like me. But it's not the same, it's different. So maybe we should really be spending more time strategizing on some of those factors, because based on that article you sent me, the big thing for from me that I took away, and maybe we can go back to this a little bit because those who didn't read it, I'm sure you'll post a link, but the surprise, you said it was surprised how few, like whether 50% or 20% were able to get back to the workplace. But didn't they mention in Asia that there was more than that, that more than they could accommodate wanted to come back? Did I misread that, or did you read that
Oh,
line where it's
maybe
like when they
maybe I
opened the
missed that.
offices, they wanted to have more people come back, but they could not accommodate that many under the new protocols they were putting in
Mm,
place for physical distancing and so forth. So I'm really curious because after Friday's conversation, and I really enjoyed that one where we talked about, how many people will want to go back. And I think I posted, it was either Thursday or Friday, we can reopen the
mhm.
office, but how many people would actually come back to the office? If the
Yeah.
choice is given, and that's what it's all about, choice, flexibility, and accommodating individual needs and different levels of comfort. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see us, and we're going to find out pretty soon because offices are going to be start reopening in the next few weeks. It sounds like. So we'll see if there's more people that want to come back than we can accommodate, and then, or if it's just a trickle, and you go to all these protocols and set up new procedures, and then there's very few people there, and it lasts the rest of the year. I guess it just depends on where you are and who you're dealing with.
Yeah, and I think organizations have to ask their employees, right? Do you anticipate coming back to the office? What will it require? Will you need, you just take our conversation, will employees require or want other employees to wear the face mask in the office environment? And I think it's important to ask employees these things,
Yeah.
and take all that in consideration. And I think geography will determine a lot of the responses. And I think it will have to be a very tactical, building by building, city by city, country by country kind of approach to what is actually required to satisfy, to bring as many people back as want to come back to the office. It's going to be fascinating.
Expectations is the word that comes to mind because we
Mm,
all, as human beings, I
yeah.
think, again, we've always had this response to anything, and this is in the world of consuming, you know, entertainment or going to a venue to see a concert or a ball game. It's like if you have an expectation that's built up based on past experiences, and then it doesn't meet that expectation, what's the result? You're disappointed. So disappointment is going to come. So that human side, that emotional, disconnect or upset, the disappointment for me at the grocery store was built on the fact that I had expectations that at this point in the game,
Hmm.
the general society of those going to the grocery store knew the rules of the game, and that we're all going to be in this together. We're going to protect each other. We're going to wear face coverings and be mindful of the distancing. And when I didn't have that expectation met, it put me in a bad place emotionally, and in a disappointment, I guess, is what
Mm,
drives that. And that's the
yeah.
funk I got into. So in the workplace, if we lay out these expectations of what it's going to be like, and then you're going to have folks, you know, people are people. Some people may have a bad day and forget some of the protocols, or some people, um, I don't know. I just think we're going to have a lot of challenges ahead, and we need to. I'm talking to myself. Take a deep breath and expect to be disappointed in some way, shape, or form as this thing rolls out, as we figure this thing out. And it's not going to be an easy adjustment going forward in all
But
aspects of this.
yeah, but the important thing you mentioned there was expectation, right? There's an expectation of certain behaviors, and that expectation is because you're putting yourself in that environment because you feel safe with those rules, and actually people not abiding those rules, therefore your safety is compromised. And the conversation I had with Andrew Mawson over the weekend that I'll be posting this week, that's what we talked about, right?
Really?
Change
Okay.
only happens because of when a person feels safe. If I feel safe, why am I going to change what I'm doing where I see that my safety's been compromised? And that's what we need to do. Okay, how do we change that? How do we allow people to see it, that new environment, that change is going to be safe for people? and it's an interesting conversation. It'll
Excellent.
take what we've been talking about a little bit deeper. But
How's Andrew doing? I can't wait to hear from
he's
him.
doing well. He's doing very
Good.
well. He's doing very well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He feels he's back to his good old self, and he said hello. I
Excellent.
did say hello
Excellent.
to him from you. So
I
yeah.
look forward to that conversation being posted.
Hmm.
And I think this week on the Workplace Innovator interactive live stream on Wednesday at noon Eastern time, I've got a couple of his friends from the UK. I guess I could announce it. Joe Sutherland
Hmm.
from Magenta Associates, a
Yeah.
PR firm that bases its work around the built environment, workplace, facility management, property management. They have a lot of great content they've been sharing, and they've been leading this charge of communicating what's going on in as it relates to our world of workplace and facility management. And he's not confirmed yet, but Tim Oldman from Leaseman is
Mm.
hopefully going to join us on Wednesday as well. He's got a busy thing. He's got a lot of things going on. And have you had a chance to talk to Tim since this
I
pandemic came
have
up?
not, have not.
Okay.
I liked him because he's quite an antagonist. He likes to
Yeah.
throw out alternative opinions, and he's always great to read because I think it's important that we hear other people's views and opinions. And obviously, with the work that Leesman do, right, they're all focused about data that drives productive workplaces.
Yep.
And I know they've just engaged in a work from home index. So I'm
Yep.
really interested to hear his opinion and his views, or what data he's seeing, and what are the stories behind that actually allows us to understand what the work from home looks like. One of the beautiful things I think Leesman do and do so well is they're great storytellers of data,
Yes.
and
Yep.
applying it to the workplace, and it allows people to sort of create a picture of the messaging from a completely different context, and then they're really good at tying all that back to the workplace. So that'd be a great thing. Please say hi to both.
Yeah. We'll
They're
see
great
how it comes
folks.
together. I'm still waiting for him to
Yeah.
confirm his schedule, but Joe is on board, and we can have a great conversation. And it's up to you folks to join us and make it interactive. I hope you'll come and share your questions in real time, live with a big crowd. We had a huge turnout last week for Kay Sargent of HOK. That was one of the busiest hours we've had. And I'm sure there's a lot of people want to talk about this stuff. So
Yeah.
we've been hearing some great things about this OSW daily live stream, and I appreciate you posting the snippets online. And I thought I've seen the numbers, the view counts going up, and people.
Hmm.
We need to get more people commenting in real time. I think that would be great to have
It would be.
more interacting. But it's 8 a.m. Eastern. It's an early start for many of us. I certainly can relate to that. And anybody on the, any west of here, West Coast is probably unlikely to join unless
Right.
it's Alec. How's our friend Alec doing? I bet people want to know about him. Have you heard from Alec
Alex doing
recently?
well. I did, yes, I did hear from him, and
Oh, good.
he'll probably have a little giggle as he hears this. He does listen to the show most days, and he sends me a little text about things when it's good and when it's not good.
Oh,
He's
good.
he's quite good, and he
Constructive
was he
criticism.
was very concerned with your apology. Actually, he did mention. But no, he's doing really well. I mean, Alec, obviously he takes all his content, he posts it on the podcast. So everything we do in Open Source Workplace you see on the YouTube channel, Alec is basically runs with the podcast, and he narrates a lot of great content, and he still continues to do so. So no, he's doing well. He's doing well.
Good. I'm going to
Yeah.
announce my new personal training course on Apologies 101, how to apologize and deflect all blame to others at the same time. It's a very
Yeah, no.
nuanced way of approaching things.
And I think many ladies would sort of agree. It's very manly to
Yes,
apologize the way you did. I believe. I think a lot of people would agree with that. So
that's right. It's
so
not
yeah.
me, it's you.
There you go. There you go. Mike, look, thank you. I appreciate
Thanks,
your
Steve.
time this morning, and just ask everybody to, leave questions, do comment. It really helps. Give it the thumbs up for the actual individual show. It helps us grow the audience. And please subscribe so you get hit that notification bell so you get alerted whenever we do go live or when we post other content. And as I said, the more questions you ask, then the better content that we may be able to produce. So there you go.
Maybe, maybe.
Maybe.
But thank you for
I don't
that.
want to be
And
too
thanks
optimistic.
for getting me into a better mood here for Monday. I'm ready to
Nah,
go now.
good, good, good,
All right,
good.
Steve.
All
Have a
right, man.
great
Have a
day.
good one. Cheers.
Talk
Take
soon.
care.